So today, on my lunch break, not usually on lunch, I like to watch YouTube videos. And so that's what I did today. As always, I'm flipping through my suggested videos and I come across one from a preacher that I follow on there. And it was talking about a pastor that committed suicide yesterday. I was like, well, let me check on this because me and him are friends on Facebook and we know a lot of the same preachers. So I wanted to see if it was somebody I knew. And he's sitting there talking about this guy without, he gave his name, but I didn't recognize it. And he said, well, this pastor had a podcast. And he had been on the podcast and stuff like that. And I was like, that got me thinking. Like, being an independent Baptist, there's not many of us that have podcasts. I used to have one. And I feel like most of the independent Baptists that have a podcast, I probably listen to it or have listened to it. And so that got my interest. And then he showed the podcast, like the logo podcast, and I was like, no way. It was the Fundamental Baptist podcast. And I forget the name of the brother, the preacher brother, David Baker, I want to say it is. And apparently he got arrested for bad things, whatever the technical term is for child molestation. And he bailed out on $200,000 bond, went to the hospital, and shot himself. But that's not why I pushed record on the video today. It's just like, I don't know if it's me getting older and stuff like that, but things like that just hit you right in the gut. Like, I don't even know this guy. Like, I've listened to his podcast. I wouldn't say that every time he uploads an episode I have to listen to it. It's one of them podcasts where I listen to it whenever I see an episode that looks interesting to me, but I don't listen to it like every week. And I don't know him. Don't know him from Adam. Never met him. But that just kicks the wind out of you. And it reminded me of something because, like, there's so many emotions that get involved in that, because you're like angry because this guy is a preacher and he's supposed to be representing the gospel, and then he gets arrested for something heinous like that. So you're angry about that part, about the crime itself, and about him bringing negative attention on the gospel. But you're also sad because he was a pretty good preacher. Like, maybe I can't say I knew everything, that he believed in. So I can't say, well, we disagreed on this and that, because I don't know. I don't really know. And it's sad that we got one less preacher, one less actual Bible-believing Baptist preacher. Those are hard to come by these days. And it's sad because he had a wife and 11 children who don't have their father now and their husband. So it's like a whole mix of emotions, of anger and hurt. But it got me thinking about a line that I say all the time. My pastor says it all the time too. We had the preacher that comes down that preaches our revival every year, Brother Reese Key, preaches our fall revival every year. And I think it was the year before last. He said, greater men than Reese Key have fallen. When you can take his name out and put your name in there if you want to. But greater men than you have fallen. And I was thinking about it earlier today, thinking, Peter was a disciple. He was day one, every day, by Jesus' side, part of Jesus' inner circle, saw all transfiguration, saw all the miracles, saw all kinds of stuff. And Jesus said, "You'll betray me 3 times." And he's like, "No, Lord, not me. Not me. I'll never do that." But he did. He fell. Now, Jesus forgave him and brought him back. But that's kind of the whole point. Greater men than Richard Norman have fallen. And, we already know what the world's going to do. The world's going to be like, yeah, them, because they love a story like this. Them Christians, they're a bunch of hypocrites. Forget the fact there's like 1 million Christians or whatever out there doing the right thing. But one does the wrong thing, they'll point the finger at that. But I wanted to come mention a verse that is pretty well known, but it bears repeating. 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Now let's think about this verse for a minute. Who is Satan seeking to devour? Is it the world? Is it the unsaved people in the world? Why does he need to devour them? They already do exactly what he wants them to do. He doesn't need to hunt down sinners and lost people. They're already his. He's got them. And he can't take your salvation from you. But what he can do is what we just saw. He can tarnish your testimony, weaken your testimony. Just think of how many people, whenever a story like this happens, that second guess their beliefs because of one dude. One dude messed up. And like Brother Roy was saying in his video today, you give this flesh an inch, it'll take a mile. And that's why we have to be sober, be vigilant. Being vigilant means you don't take no days off. It means you don't get up and say, man, I sure did fight hard against temptation and sin and whatever yesterday. I'm just going to take the day off from it. You don't get no days off. Every day, as long as you're alive and as long as you have this flesh, you got to get up and fight against it. So be sober, be vigilant. Because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. If he comes by you and he sees a weakness and he's like, I might can devour him, he's gonna take it. Don't think you can be weak one day. You can take a day off and the devil won't notice. So be sober, be vigilant. Don't let the devil make you into the next one. You might say, well, I would never do that. Peter said he would never do that either. And what did he do? So be sober, be vigilant, and don't give the devil a target. Y'all pray for your pastor. As hard as we have it as Christians in this world that we live in today, I guarantee you he's got it harder. So pray for your pastor.